Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So, pre-loved shopping. It is good for the environment, it is good for our wallets, and who doesn't love that, right? Today's video actually also was requested by quite a couple of my subscribers. So I am here to provide you with hopefully helpful tips on secondhand shopping for luxury and designer fashion. If you are new to this place, hello, welcome. My name is Evelyn, this is the Geek is Chic. If you happen to like my videos, please make sure to subscribe, to hit that like button, and always feel free to leave me a comment below if you have any more suggestions or feedback for me. Let's get started. So today I will focus on three main points that for me are super crucial and super important when it comes to pre-loved shopping, especially pre-loved online shopping. And these are authenticity, pricing, and sizing. Because if you can make a check on these 3 points, I think that you can order a pre-loved luxury item online with confidence and with, a good feeling in your gut that it's the right item for you. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to research. If I have a particular item on my radar on the pre-loved market, I will research the hell out of it. And I will tell you how exactly I do that or what kind of research I basically use to make sure that I order the right thing. Let's start with the first point, which is authenticity, which I think probably is one of the most important factors that you want to make sure when shopping online for a luxury designer item. So one thing that you can of course do is use platforms such as Vestiaire Collective, Feed Dressing, or Vuitton Vogue. I think the Real does that too for the US people out there. And these platforms actually provide or offer a authentication service. So what these platforms will do, they will use these authentication pros to take a look at the item, at the garment or the bag or the pair of shoes once they arrive at their headquarters, and they will basically go through a checklist that will ensure or that will distinguish a fake from a real item. However, I still think, and I still recommend to all of you, to still do your own research, to really be sure and to have a good gut feeling about what you're ordering, because, pre-loved luxury is still expensive. So especially when it comes to very iconic brands and very iconic items, such as, certain bags from Chanel or Louis Vuitton or Hermes, there is a huge amount of information and platforms and communities on the internet nowadays that you can use that will help you to be able to recognize a fake from an authentic item. For example, the serial numbers, the leather, the hardware, really just details, also like the screws, the kind of screws that like the real brands use that those super fake companies don't use. You will be able to find those basic authentication guidelines out there. I will link a couple of pages down below that I have used before or that I have used for research before. But on top of that, you can still do some more research, especially when it comes to seasonal items, for example. If you have, let's say, your eyes on a pink Chanel bag, pink tweed with the pearls that was like very popular last spring-summer season, I would, for example, try to research which season it was. I would go ahead and start with Googling this item, finding out which season this bag was from. Once I will find a original picture of the bag, street styles, or actually product pictures like from chanel.com, I will then be able to take a closer look at the material, the tweed, any special details like the size of the pearls, the size of the logo, maybe some special effect materials or fabrics that they use, like metallic effects or anything like that. Does it have a back pocket? How long the chain is? Just like details that will make me distinguish between a fake and a real item. Or I will really just find out if a certain color combination actually was designed by that brand, because if you take a look at a old Celine twist bag, for example, there are many different color combinations, and they, produce this bag in so many different variations that I will totally Google black, blue, green Celine twist bag and see if this actually was made, or if this maybe is a colorway or a design that never was produced in that particular way. And the same goes for ready to wear. In those cases, I will also start Googling, start looking for the item on the designer's website, if it's not a, super old item. And then I think it is super important that you have to be aware of the fact that sometimes it comes down to the smallest detailing that can make the big difference. So I would, research how the stitching is, how the embellishments are, the colors. I would even take a look at the font, like the sizing or the style font. Is it exactly the same? Has it exactly the same shape? Or I will also take a look at the font size. I think especially nowadays with all the logomania things going on, the font style of the item, of the logo, or of anything, of the statement of the t-shirt or the whatever, I will literally count the stitchings. I will see if there's an inside of an O or of an 8 or something has the same shape as on the original item, things like that. And if the smallest detailing is off, if the edge of a letter is round and not straight, this will put me off and I will immediately be super skeptical about this item. And of course, all of this goes for shoes as well. This is all applicable on shoes as well. I will always make sure that the specific color combination does actually exist, or a material combination does actually exist, the colorway. I will again check the smallest details. I got a pair of biker boots by Saint Laurent once at Vestiaire Collective. I will insert a picture of them here. I literally researched the hell out of these boots. I compared the images of this product with the original product picture by Saint Laurent to really make sure all the designs are exactly the same. What you can also do is take a look at where shoes are made. Sometimes shoes are made in different countries than bags and ready-to-wear is. What I also like to do is to actually take a look at the outer sole. So if the design on the sole on the bottom is the same, where the size is embossed in, or the brand name, if the size of the stamp there, the font again, and the information itself, is the same as it is on a original item, then this is of course an indicator for me to actually trust the seller and to actually, make the splurge. But what about vintage items? So I'm not a pro on vintage luxury fashion, but I still have a couple of ideas or recommendations or a little bit of advice. So first of all, for those iconic brands, again, there are huge communities of vintage lovers out there on the internet that will still be able to help you to, identify or to at least get an idea if something is authentic or not. For example, which leathers were used from the 70s till the 80s, which hardware was used, how the tone of the hardware is. For example, old Chanel bags or vintage Chanel bags were gold plated, so the hardware is much more of a yellow tone than it is today. Also, the lambskin was different. Sometimes the stitchings were a little different. I think that in some cases, some bags are so iconic, even though they were seasonal, that you will actually be able to find this particular bag, from the 80s on a runway or something. But of course, it all comes down to research there. Another thing that you can do is you can hire a professional authentication service. They will independently check the pictures of the item that you have in mind, and they will be at least able to give you an assessment if they think that this is a authentic bag or not. The second super important point is of course the sizing. How can you make sure that an item that is old season, that you can't try on anymore, that is not produced anymore or anything like that, is actually the right size for you? Since on the pre-loved market, you very rarely have the chance to return items. First and the most easiest thing is of course try it on in the boutique or in a department store. What you can also do is if the specific item is not in the boutique, you can still check if there is something very similar or something that you know has the same cut, but it has a different design, different color, different material is used, anything like that. For example, let's say I want to order a Saint Laurent blazer. Of course, there are many different Saint Laurent blazers out there. But the way that items are produced or mass produced is that they more or less use the same silhouettes and the same cuts to make those items. If I'm not sure if a French 38 Saint Laurent blazer fits me that I've seen online, I will go to the boutique, I will go to and I will try on just a couple of different Saint Laurent blazers that resemble this design. And then I will already get a very good representative feeling for how this particular size fits me or does not. Another tip that of course is super helpful are measurements. Ask the seller of the item if they have the measurements. If it's a pair of shoes, ask for the inner sole. If it's a piece of clothing, I would ask for at least those measurements that you feel most insecure about. So for example, in my case, I will always ask for shoulder measurements because that is kind of like the trickiest area on my body for me, which I always have to make sure that this fits. If you have the measurements, I would either compare the measurements to my body, or what you can also do is you can compare those measurements to another item, another piece of garment that you already own and that you find fits very well. So if we go back to the Saint Laurent blazer, if you do already own a blazer, it really doesn't matter which brand it is, I would compare the measurements of the shoulders there to the measurements that I was given by the seller of the pre-loved item that I'm looking at. But what if you cannot get your hands on the measurements? What if the seller doesn't answer? Of course, then you can go back to checking similar items that are on the market right now from the same brand. Or what you can also do, and that is something that I really like about Vestiaire Collective, this is not sponsored. What you can do there is if a seller of an item doesn't answer you, you can check the items or other sellers, even those that were already sold. So you can go on the detail page of the same blazer in the same size, even if it was like sold half a year ago or something, you can go there and you can see if this particular seller did provide someone with the measurements. And then you will still be able to do your research to apply and to distinguish or to estimate if this item might fit or not. And point 3, last but not least, is the pricing. So of course, resale values are something that fluctuates a lot, and the price of a pre-loved item basically depends on how coveted it is and how popular it is right now. So what I would do, I would always check the recent retail price, because especially if it comes to bag, you know that they change basically all the time. And what I will also do is I will compare the price that is like offered to me to the prices that this item is sold for by other sellers or on other platforms as well. For example, again, this is a great feature at Vestiaire Collective. The reason why I talk about them is I use Vestiaire Collective the most myself. You can again see for which prices this particular item that you have your eyes on has already been sold for. For example, if a pair of Balenciaga BB shoes that I have my eyes on right now is always sold for around 500 or 600 euros, I will try to negotiate into this kind of spectrum or price range as well. So comparing the prices of items that were already sold or items on other platforms will help you to identify a certain price range of, you know, a common resale price. That will just immediately give you help and more orientation when it comes to negotiating the price for your item of desire. If it is an item that is very current, very new, very hard to get, of course, you will probably come across higher prices than retail, which of course is something that, you know, it all comes down to your personal preference, to your personal decision making. If you want an item so bad that you are willing to pay more than retail for this item, go ahead, do it. I can kind of, you know, I can relate. I never did that, but I kind of get it. I was so close to get myself of overpriced Celine Madame boots back then when they were so hyped. And I mean, it's old Celine, it was the last collection. I still love these shoes, but they are still so overpriced on the pre-loved market. And I just can't get myself to the point to do that, to pull the trigger. So I would still always advise you, if you can, and you know, if the trendiness of an item is not that important for you, to wait for a season or 2 or 3, which is just like 1.5 years if you count in seasons, and then see how the price develops. Because if you, for example, take a look at the Balenciaga Triple S sneakers, right? Like 2 years ago when they came out, they were very hard to get, they were sold out everywhere, and on the pre-loved market these shoes were sold for over 1,500 or 1,300 euros, something like that, all of them. Which is crazy because they originally did cost around 700, so that's like a, you know, big markup there. And even like 1 year later or something, you could get them for less. Like 1 year ago I got myself a pair of Balenciaga Triple S for I think 30 or 40% less than the retail price. And before that, I would have had paid more if I wanted to get them like immediately. So I would either try to get on waiting list to, you know, make a good connection with an SA that will, you know, give you the shoe or that will organize the shoe for you for a regular retail price. Or I would personally wait for, you know, 2 seasons or something. First of all, you will see if the shoe actually makes it that long or if it's already out of fashion and you would have lost money anyway in that case. And if the price already starts to go down and to decrease, and then you will actually be able to score it for the same retail price or for an even better price. Because in fashion, nothing really is forever, right? So this was it. This was my video and my personal part of information when it comes to pre-loved shopping. I hope that you did find this helpful. I know that doing your research is something that may be quite a painful thing and annoying thing, especially nowadays where, you know, you can basically consume everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye bye.